flies off from the hive, mates with whatever drones are in the area, and comes back to the colony. All right.
So they choose when to.
Or swarming. You know, swarming is sort of like cell division, but what typically happens is the old queen will shrink up and fly off with part of the bees right as the virgins are emerging from the cells, and then one or more of those virgins will battle it out and then fly off and mate and return to the original colony and take over.
Game of Thrones.
How does a hive ever become queenless? Because it seems like they would develop their own queen.
Well, they will certainly try, but you know, there are birds, spiders, you know, weather, a variety of different things can happen.
But they can choose which cell to.
They do that. Yeah, they will typically pick first instar larvae and feed them copious amounts of royal jelly, and that changes the developmental pathway from that of a worker bee to a queen. So this very same egg that would ordinarily become a worker bee will become a queen, based on which one gets the diet. Pardon me. The diet is a developmental hormone-enriched substance that causes the DNA of the developing larva to become differentially methylated, so it expresses a different set of genes, and that's why you get ovaries that develop. And the other interesting, there are many other interesting aspects to honeybee biology, but one of the coolest things I think is that the drones are haploid. Okay.
What's that?
So there's only one set of chromosomes
Half a
in a drone.
complement of chromosomes.
Okay.
So they're literally like flying sperm.
Right. Yeah.
They're sperm with wings.
They're so
And if you think of it this way, it's even weirder. So drones have grandfathers; they don't have fathers. Okay. So we can put them back down there gently together. See how I'm doing this?
Trying to let the bees get out of the way.
Yeah, try to let the bees get out of the way so we don't mash too much.
The ones on your left don't want to get out of the way there.
And part of it is I didn't scrape that bill down off the combs on top, right? So if you don't want to go through that, and or you want to avoid exerting the finger strength to do it, because that's, you might want to, well, next time we'll do it. You can pick up that deep and you can feel what it is like, okay? In terms of weight. And so I had put this queen excluder on here once before because I had put some queen cells on top to incubate, and obviously I didn't want the queen in that colony to come up and kill all my queen cells, which she would do. All right.
Are the bees more or less indifferent to you doing this, opening the hive? I mean,
No, some are going to be really resentful of it. Depends on the weather. Depends on the temperament of the bees. Okay.
So how many times have you been stung since we've been standing here?
I got stung a couple of times on the fingers when I was handling one of those combs. And that's it.
So the black thing on the end, that's a feeder, correct?
Mm-hmm.
My understanding is that bees can drown pretty easily,
Uh-huh.
so
Again,
obviously, I mean, there's a lot of stuff built up in there.
see that?
It's another one of those beetle traps.
quite full.
Wow.
So
Wow.
We need to get beetle traps.
they're a particular risk for us around here because we have so many colonies of bees, and a lot of our colonies are in the shade. I moved this morning, this pallet of bees from over there in the shade to right here.
Well, that's
So
good.
shady spots are more conducive to hive beetle reproduction.
How far can you move it? Like if you decide, man, I put this in the wrong place.
You can go to Lubbock tomorrow morning if you want to.
Well, how about if I just want to go like, 15 feet?
Well, 15 feet's tricky because what will happen is, and this is what's happened to some of the bees from this pallet, I'll be willing to bet, because I'm just right on the margins of how far you need to move them before they get a new signal from the Earth's geomagnetic field and figure out they're in a new spot. A lot of these bees had flown out to forage and had returned to the spot they came from.
They didn't reset there.
Because they didn't reset. You really need to move them a couple hundred yards if you can. So this whole comb is nothing but drone brood, right?
Wow. Look at all that.
And why do I do that? Aren't drones bad? Drone layers are bad queens, right? Well, Not if you're trying to rear queens, because you got to have lots of drones for those queens to mate with.
Right.
You think about, if you're producing a few thousand queens, well then you need tens of thousands of drones.
What's the science behind having it in the sun versus the shade for the beetles?
They find it more. Oh, now this doesn't happen very often. Remember we were talking about chartreuse-eyed drones?
Yeah.
Check it out.
Wow.
No.
Yeah.
That I was not setting myself up. I'm
There he is. It's weird.
So this queen's carrying a recessive trait.
See?
That's it.
Is no difference in the color, or could he have sight problems or anything else? Maybe do they know? No.
I don't know enough about the physiology of chartreuse-eyed drones.
Are you worried about? That's what I'm saying. Do you care about recessive traits and things like that?
To the extent that it causes behavioral problems for the colony, yeah.
Okay.
All right, there goes another one of those dastardly beetles, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
So is it best to keep your hive in the shade or in the sun?
Sun.
Sun is better. And there's larvae right here in the middle if you want to practice looking at larvae again. Oh, we got sunshine. You'll find it easier to see that larva now. Throw that thing up over your shoulder so you got sunlight angling down to the bottom of the cell. Now we'll take the time to look for eggs too, because eggs are harder to find than other stages of brood. And it's important to be able to recognize them because you don't have to hunt your queen down to know your colony's queen right. If you've got eggs, you know you've had a queen in there within the last 3 days at least.
So is that honey then?
Mm-hmm.
We're
It
seeing that
is.
on the edges?
Mm-hmm. That's right.
And this in the corner is cap breeding, right? Right up here.
That's honey.
Oh, that's honey. Oh, yeah.
So it's a little bit like the same color, but there is a distinct difference once you
The orange.
learn how to pick it up. So we've got really nothing but young brood mostly upstairs in this hive. The queen's just come up here to start laying. So it's a little bit behind that other colony we looked at. You need to always put flotation devices in your feeders before you put feed in there. One of the best things you can put is wax if you've got drawn comb. Of course, if you're starting your first hive, you're not going to have drawn comb.
I was kind of thinking about wine corks.
Yeah, wine corks work. You can just relax and hide your package, right?
I need some
So
more.
you need some more cork.
And if you got an ag exemption for the bees, then the wine counts because
There you go,
you have to work to
perfect.
keep the, there you go. Yeah.
Yeah, right off that wine.
Shiny.
I needed some cork.
Lots of bees. And lots of beetles.
Yeah, lots of beetles. They're the biggest headache for me, since we've got bees that are naturally tolerant of varroa
And spiders and things aren't usually a problem.
Not unless you.
Ants. Do you get ants?
Sometimes fire ants can be a problem. Usually only when it's really dry in the summertime. In fact, in the spring, if you have a fire ant mound next to your colony, it probably means you've got a good hive because they're parasitizing the thermal energy from that hive to warm their nest.
And so
Okay.
you need to go back in the same order, ideally.
If they were arrayed in the correct order to begin with.
Right.
Most of the time bees will self-organize appropriately, not always though. This colony's a little off to one side, and based on what I'm seeing, I think this hive reared a queen very recently. And that's why we don't have anything but very young larvae and eggs, because there's just not seal brood in here yet. She's just getting going.
How long does a queen typically last? Is it kind of her cycle?
It depends on how hard she has to work, how well mated she is. Watch out just a second. I'm going to bang this down on that hive lid over there just because I think I've got lots of beetles in the comb here. Yep.
You can't really see the varroa mites, right?
Yeah, you can.
Yeah.
We just haven't seen any yet. So this hive is not really arranged the way I'd like for it to be, so we're going to spend some time putting it back together and talking about how to put it together appropriately.
So that's all honey on there.
Uh-huh, those are solid frames of honey. And this is honey as well. We're going to go all the way to the sidewall. And we're going to distribute the honey evenly around the hive. All right, we're not going to have it all on one side in the bottom. Okay? And I'm going to scrape the comb up as I go and kill hive beetles as I go. I'd say this colony was in threat of succumbing to hive beetles. There's still more on there. Pardon me?
Putting it in the side will help.
Uh-huh. Yep.
Will the beetles then move into the hive right next to it?
Uh-huh. Alright. Ah, missed that one.
Could I catch the beetles and feed on my chickens?
What do I do with the bee that's on my neck?
Yeah, make sure you don't have a lot of mean bees flying around you, because you can just make things worse if you do that, and you do.
Yeah.
You just reach up in there with your hand and very gently lift the bee off. Try not to mash it. You want me to?